The sound of her slamming the bathroom drawer snapped me out of that half-sleep fog. I rolled over and squinted at the clock. 6:08 a.m. My alarm hadn't even gone off yet. "You didn't take the trash out again," she snapped through the door. "Do you want raccoons in the garage?" I sat up. My back already ached, and I hadn't even gotten to work yet. "My bad," I mumbled, rubbing my face. "My bad doesn't fix the smell," she said, now standing in the doorway, arms crossed, towel on her head. "I do everything around here, and you can't handle one basic task?" "Name's Tyler. I'm 32, and I live in Tempe, Arizona. I work as a delivery supervisor for a freight company. Not glamorous, but it pays the bills." Every morning was a routine. Wake up, get blamed, apologize, start the day already in the hole. I walked to the kitchen to make coffee, trying to shake off the tension. But there she was, already at the counter, arms flying. "And why were you so quiet last night?" The energy in the room was just weird. "I was tired," I said. "I got stuck covering for Steve again." "Yeah, but your vibe was off. It's like you don't even try to connect anymore." There was never a right answer. Not to the trash, the dishes, the thermostat, or whatever emotional crime I'd unknowingly committed. She had this way of stacking things, tiny things, until I looked like the failure. A paper towel roll left empty? That was proof I didn't respect her. Forgetting to restock oat milk? Selfishness. The worst part? I believed her. I'd started apologizing for everything, even when I wasn't sure what I did wrong. I'd come home, stay quiet, nod through her rants, try to steer clear of any triggers. This wasn't new. This had been happening for at least 2 years, probably more. Started subtle. Comment here, a sigh there. Then suddenly I was the problem. The whole problem. All the time. "I'm going to Sedona on Sunday," she said, stirring her smoothie with the same spoon she just licked. Something she always yelled at me for. "Alone. A wellness retreat." I blinked. "Oh, I need space. And I think while I'm gone, you should really think about your role in all this tension." Then she sipped her green sludge like she'd just solved world peace. I stood there, holding my half-toasted bagel, still in boxers and a work shirt. I didn't argue. I just nodded like I always did. But something in my chest shifted. Just a little. She wheeled her suitcase to the front door like she was marching into battle. Big sunglasses on, yoga mat strapped across her shoulder, lips tight like I'd disappointed her one final time. "I really hope you take this week to reflect," she said, pausing for effect, "because I can't keep carrying all the emotional weight. It's exhausting." I just nodded, leaning against the doorframe with my arms crossed. I'd already loaded her suitcase in the trunk, but she insisted on dragging it back to the door for dramatic flair. "And don't forget to water the snake plant, but not too much," she added, like she didn't already remind me every other day. They hate overwatering, just like I hate being emotionally smothered. She clicked the trunk shut and slid into the driver's seat. Before backing out, she gave me this long, pity-filled look, like she truly believed she was the one leaving behind a toxic mess. Then she was gone, and just like that, silence. Not the kind that made your ears ring, the good kind. The kind that didn't carry judgment in it. I stood there for a second, hand still on the doorknob. No one asking why I was standing weird. No voice from the kitchen pointing out the recycling bin was still half full. I let the door click shut behind me and took the first deep breath I'd had in months. First thing I did? I made a sandwich. A big one. Turkey, cheddar, yellow mustard, and here's the kicker, white bread. Not some sprouted grain flax abomination, but actual soft, fluffy, supermarket white bread. I sat on the couch with my sandwich, feet on the coffee table, no coaster, and turned on the TV. Sports Center. Volume up. No judgment. It felt like breaking rules I didn't remember agreeing to. The next couple hours passed like a dream. I didn't have to explain why I wanted to watch football highlights. I didn't have to validate my feelings about pickles. I just existed, and it felt better than I thought it would. Mid-afternoon, I walked into the bathroom and noticed for the first time how much crap she kept on the counter. Crystals, face rollers, 10-step serums. The space didn't feel like mine. It felt like a room I had permission to use under supervision. Same with the bedroom. Her pillows, decorative, useless, were stacked in perfect formation. Her diffuser, her Himalayan salt lamp, her stack of self-help books that always made me feel like I needed fixing. I grabbed one, Emotionally Immature Partners, and tossed it in the laundry basket just to see how it felt. Felt good. I spent the evening doing exactly what I wanted. I ordered a greasy pizza and didn't ask for approval on toppings. She hated sausage. I got extra. Watched an R-rated action movie, volume up. Again, no running commentary on how violence was low frequency. Left the crusts on the plate. Didn't do the dishes right away. Laughed out loud when something was funny. Nobody looked at me sideways. You don't realize how heavy someone is until they're not sitting on your chest anymore. Her presence had taken over the house like wallpaper. Always there, always loud, even when she wasn't talking. The thermostat was finally set where I liked it. The lights stayed on if I wanted them on. I didn't have to defend the temperature of my shower or the way I folded towels. It wasn't just quiet, it was calm. I wasn't apologizing every 10 minutes or second-guessing every move. I wasn't living on edge, trying to preempt her moods like weather forecasts. And that guilt? That knot in my stomach that I'd gotten used to carrying around? It was starting to loosen. Slowly, like someone finally untied a string wrapped around my lungs. By the time I crawled into bed that night, with the TV still on, eating a leftover slice of pizza I didn't bother reheating, I wasn't thinking about how to fix anything. I was just breathing. I woke up Monday around 10. No alarms. No footsteps pacing around the room. No clipped sighs when I didn't get out of bed fast enough. The blinds were still closed. Sunlight was sneaking through the gaps. And for once, I didn't feel like a criminal for sleeping past 7. I shuffled into the kitchen barefoot. No interrogation. No commentary on my caffeine habits or what time a real adult starts the day. Just silence and the smell of real coffee that I made the way I like it. I sat on the couch in my boxers and watched 2 full hours of football commentary. Not once did someone barge in and ask, "Is this seriously how you want to spend your day?" Not once did I pause the show out of habit. And somewhere between that second cup of coffee and the third unnecessary highlight reel of a quarterback I didn't even care about, it hit me. I hadn't apologized for anything. Not once. That hadn't happened in over a year. I didn't have to defend why I didn't feel like talking. I didn't have to explain why I hadn't shaved or why the dishwasher hadn't been unloaded the second it stopped. It was just me and peace. Tuesday morning rolled around, and I stared at my work phone for a full minute before I made the call. "Yeah, I'm not coming in today. Just need a day," I said. Didn't give a long excuse. Didn't feel guilty. Hung up. I got dressed in jeans and a plain t-shirt, nothing weirdly clingy or emotionally closed off in color tone, and drove 20 minutes to a hole-in-the-wall diner near Mesa. Place was called Lenny's, and she always trashed it. Said it smelled like bacon grease and sad childhoods, which to me sounded perfect. The second I walked in, I got hit with the smell of actual butter on griddles and old coffee pots. No herbal teas or gluten-free menus. Just pancakes, sausage, and freedom. The waitress called me Han. Sat me near the window. While I waited for my food, I pulled a napkin from the holder and grabbed a pen from my pocket. I started writing. Not a journal entry. Just a list. All the ways I disappeared. I wrote fast, like it had been waiting inside me. Stopped seeing my sister because she killed the vibe. Quit playing guitar because she said it was a hobby, not a purpose. Changed how I dressed. Changed what I ate. Lost contact with my 2 best friends from high school because she thought they were immature. Never brought up my dad dying because she called it unprocessed male trauma. Apologized for having needs. Apologized for being quiet. Apologized for existing too loudly. And right there, in that greasy booth, I realized something I'd been too deep in the fog to see. This wasn't a rough patch. This was the pattern. There wasn't some golden version of her just waiting around the corner. Some warm, emotionally generous woman trapped under stress. This was her. Always needing more. Always framing everything as my failure to show up enough, grow enough, fix myself fast enough. The longer I sat there, scribbling on napkins and sipping burnt coffee, the clearer it got. I wasn't in a relationship with a difficult person going through something. I was in a relationship with someone who only functioned when I shrank. I finished my pancakes, asked for a refill, and kept writing. Not a single item on that list was dramatic. There was no cheating, no slamming doors, no name-calling. But damn, the quiet damage? Stacked. She never yelled. She never threw a punch. But she drained me dry and convinced me I was leaking on my own. I paid my bill, tipped well, and stepped outside. Sun was high. Air smelled like asphalt and heat. And for the first time in a long time, I felt like a man who could trust his own thoughts. Back home, I dropped my keys on the counter and grabbed a soda from the fridge. The napkins from Lenny's were still stacked next to the toaster. I hadn't thrown them out yet. I was flipping through channels when my phone buzzed. One new message from Kayla. It was a photo. Her on a trail somewhere in Sedona. Red rocks in the background, that dramatic desert glow. She was doing that fake laugh pose with some guy I didn't recognize. Looked like he lifted weights and talked about energy healing in the same sentence. The caption? Surround yourself with positive energy. The rest will sort itself out. I stared at it for a second. Not in shock, just annoyed. So that's what I was now. Negative energy. Something to be detoxed from. What really got me wasn't the guy. I didn't care about him. What hit me was how easily she twisted the whole story. Like she was out there, reclaiming her spirit or whatever, while I sat in the house that we both paid for, trying to figure out which version of me she'd been fighting all these years. And to top it off, I was still covering part of her credit card bill. I tossed the phone face down on the couch. I didn't text back. Didn't ask questions. Didn't care who he was. I opened my food app and ordered Chinese from that spot she hated. Said it was too salty and made her feel puffy. I got the combo plate with extra fried rice and crab rangoons. Hell yes. While it cooked, I picked a movie. Not some indie relationship drama about couples learning to communicate through long stares and muted violins. I went with a loud, explosive revenge thriller with a body count in the triple digits. When the food came, I ate straight from the cartons. Sat there with sauce on my fingers, laughing at dumb one-liners, and I didn't have to explain a damn thing. No passive-aggressive sighs. No, wow, this is what you're into? Commentary. Just me doing what I wanted because I wanted to. Halfway through the movie, I hit pause. Sat back. The quiet in the room didn't feel empty. It felt mine. And that's when it landed. I wasn't fixing this. Not because I was too lazy. Not because I was scared of confrontation. But because there was nothing worth fixing. She didn't want a partner. She wanted a project. A man to tinker with until he matched her mood board of spiritual compatibility and performative wellness. I wasn't broken. I was just inconvenient to her narrative. I used to think we had rough patches, stress, work, family stuff, whatever. But no, this was the relationship. This slow, constant erosion of self. This moving target of worthiness. She didn't hate who I was. She hated that I kept showing up as myself. I grabbed my phone, not to scroll, not to check her feed, but to open my notes app. I typed, "I don't want this anymore." That was it. 6 words. But damn, they felt solid. I read them over and over. Not a maybe. Not a we need to talk. Not a let's see after the retreat. I was done shrinking. Done guessing what version of myself would survive the day. I wasn't angry. Not really. I felt grounded. Focused. Like something had finally clicked into place. I got up, tossed the empty cartons in the trash, didn't rinse them, didn't sort the recycling, sat back down, unpaused the movie, and smiled when the hero walked away from the final explosion like he'd already made peace with the past. Friday morning, I put on jeans and a collared shirt, clean but casual, and drove across town to a law office tucked between a nail salon and a dentist. The kind of place you don't notice until your life hits a wall. The receptionist slid a clipboard toward me without looking up. I filled it out: name, address, relationship status. Engaged, living together. Under reason for visit, I wrote 2 words: emotional neglect. Felt weird writing it down. Not because it wasn't true, but because for once, I wasn't making it sound nicer than it was. The lawyer called my name 20 minutes later. She looked like someone who'd seen every type of story walk through that door. Early 40s, sharp suit, no fake smile. "Tyler," she said, holding the door open. "Come on back." Her office was clean and cold. No fake plants. No motivational quotes. Just stacks of legal pads, a laptop, and a massive calendar behind her desk. She sat down and clicked her pen. "Walk me through it." I took a breath. "We're not married yet, but we've been engaged for 3 years. Lived together almost 4. Joint checking. She's on my health insurance. I've been covering part of her credit card since she quit her job last fall." She nodded. "Assets. House is in my name. She's contributed to utilities and groceries, but I pay the mortgage. No kids. No pets. She drives her own car. Lease, not mine. Debt. My truck has another year on it. Everything else is paid off. She has credit card debt. Technically hers, but I've helped with payments here and there." She jotted notes down fast. "And the reason you're here today?" I looked her in the eye. "She treats me like a problem to fix. Every day. I've spent the last 3 years apologizing for existing the wrong way. There's no yelling, no violence, but it's constant blame, emotional pressure, and walking on eggshells. Nothing I do is ever enough. Ever." She paused, pen hovering, then said, "You're not the first man I've had in this chair with that exact sentence." "Yeah." She leaned back. "It's more common than people admit. Manipulation doesn't leave bruises, but it leaves damage. You sound calm, that's a good sign. Means you've already detached." I nodded. "I cried a little on Monday, felt angry on Tuesday, but today, I was clear." "So what does moving forward look like?" I asked. She laid it out. Separate finances immediately. Document shared expenses. Draft a cohabitation termination letter. Technically, we weren't divorcing, but ending a long-term engagement with shared assets was close enough to trigger the same steps. "I can send her a notice," she said, "but it's better if it comes from you first, especially if you still live together. You need control of the narrative, or she'll run wild with hers." That hit home. Kayla loved controlling the story. She'd already positioned herself as some spiritual refugee on the run from my emotional toxicity. "Once she's back," I said, "I'll be ready." The lawyer nodded. "You're already ahead of the game. Most people come in half-broken. You're showing up whole. That makes this cleaner." I paid the consultation fee, signed a couple forms, and walked out with a folder in my hand and a plan in my head. It wasn't anger I felt in the parking lot. It was relief. Not the kind that hits all at once. More like standing up after sitting in the same position for too long. Everything felt sore but functional. I wasn't walking away from her. I was walking back to myself. The next morning, I walked into a local credit union and told the lady at the desk I needed to open a new checking account. She smiled, handed me a clipboard, and asked what brought me in. "Clean break," I said. She nodded like she'd heard it 100 times. Probably had. It only took 30 minutes to set everything up. I moved half the money from our joint account into the new one. Not out of pettiness, just protection. I'd earned it, I was entitled to it, and I wasn't about to let it get drained under the label of emotional growth expenses. I texted Brandon that afternoon, a buddy from work who'd gone through a nasty breakup 2 years back. His ex had lit his clothes on fire in a parking lot. He picked up on the second ring. "Yo," he said. "You good?" "Actually, yeah. Just wanted to talk to someone who's been on the other side of this." He laughed. "You're leaving her?" "Already left. She just doesn't know yet." Brandon let out a low whistle. "Dude, I remember that moment. Like your soul cracks open, but it's the good kind." We talked for almost an hour, about the little things you don't notice until the fog clears. Like choosing your own groceries, or not bracing every time you hear someone walk into the room. "Freedom's not loud," he said near the end. "It's just steady. You'll feel it every time you wake up and realize nobody's judging your breakfast." I thanked him, hung up, and sat outside on the porch with a beer. It was the first time in forever I didn't feel watched. The first Saturday I hadn't been guilted into some intentional couples time to check boxes I didn't ask for. The sun dipped down. Sky turned orange. I stayed quiet, not out of fear, just peace. Sunday around noon, her name popped up on my screen. I knew it was coming. Kayla, hey, I've had a lot of breakthroughs this week. I think when I get back, we should sit down for a constructive conversation. I'm in a really clear space and I want to reconnect and reframe everything with intention. I stared at it for a beat. That voice. Fake calm, faux enlightened, laced with all the same control wrapped in a prettier wrapper. She didn't want peace. She wanted the upper hand. I didn't respond. Not yet. I wanted her to walk in cold and unrehearsed. But I wasn't rattled. I wasn't panicking or second-guessing. I already knew how this ended because I wasn't guessing anymore. I wasn't asking for her to meet me halfway or trying to prove I had value. I had my account, my plan, my words. She wanted a conversation? Fine. But this time, she wouldn't be the only one steering it. She walked through the door at 6:12 p.m. on Tuesday, suitcase clacking behind her like it wanted attention too. Hair curled, skin glowing like she just got a facial and a fresh sense of superiority. I was already sitting at the kitchen table, calm, steady, a man who knew exactly how this was going to go. She didn't say hi, just dropped her bag, took a dramatic breath, and went straight into performance mode. I'm in such a better headspace now, she started, pulling out a chair across from me like this was a TED Talk. I got clarity on a lot of things this week. Deep stuff, inner wounds, energetic imbalances, all of it. I didn't say a word, just watched, let her talk. She smiled, real smug. I talked to someone out there. His name's Derek. He's not like a therapist, but he's deeply intuitive. He helped me realize a lot of the pressure I've carried in this relationship comes from how emotionally unavailable you've been. I stayed quiet, still, hands folded. She reached across the table like she was connecting on some higher plane. I don't want to blame you, I really don't. But I do think you need to do some work. Inner work. Therapy, shadow processing, emotional literacy. Derek says. Kayla, I said flat. Stop. She blinked. Her hand froze mid-gesture. I slid the manila envelope across the table. The papers were already signed, notarized, and copied. Her face didn't register it at first. She opened the flap, skimmed the top sheet, and laughed. This is a joke, right? No. You're giving up? Now? After I finally get clear and come back grounded. I leaned back in my chair. You didn't get clear. You just found a new way to put it all on me. She stood up like that would give her more control. You're being reactive. This is what I mean. You don't want to grow, you just want to run away from discomfort. I stood too, calm, slow, not playing her volume game. I'm not running from anything, I said. I've been sitting in discomfort for 3 years. You just dressed it up with words like alignment and vibration, so you could keep pulling the strings. You're blowing this way out of proportion. No, I said. You are. You think just because you went on a hike and talked to some guy named Derek, you're now qualified to diagnose me? You don't want a relationship. You want a mirror that reflects back whatever version of yourself you like that day. She crossed her arms. So that's it? You've decided? No conversation. This is the conversation. You had 3 years to hear me. I finally listened to myself instead. She walked to the sink, spun around, grabbed the counter like it grounded her. This isn't fair. You're ambushing me. I tilted my head. You told me to reflect on my role in all this. I did. I just don't think you expected me to come to a different conclusion than the one you approved. Her mouth opened, but nothing came out. That stunned silence? That was new. I stepped toward the table, picked up the second copy of the paperwork. You're not a victim here, Kayla. You're just used to winning the argument. She reached for a different tone, that soft, diplomatic one. We can slow down, reevaluate, maybe go to couples therapy. I'm open to solutions. No more solutions. I'm not broken. We're not a project. Tyler, don't do this just to prove a point. I'm doing this because I finally see the point. The room went quiet. Her face was tight, eyes darting around like she was searching for a new script. I'll have my lawyer send a formal notice, I said. You can take some time to review it. But this isn't a threat or an ask. It's a done deal. She didn't scream, didn't cry, but I saw it, the flicker of panic behind all that fake zen. She'd rehearsed a monologue. I showed up with a verdict. The second I went upstairs, I heard her on the phone. First call was to her sister. I caught pieces through the vent. He blindsided me. Completely irrational. No warning. 10 minutes later, another voice. Her friend from yoga, or maybe that wine circle she went to once a month. He's emotionally blocked. Like, unstable energy. She wasn't crying. She was constructing. Rebuilding the version of the story where I snapped out of nowhere and she was the loving fiancée who tried everything. I didn't care. Let her have it. People who know me wouldn't buy it, and the ones who do, they were never mine to begin with. She didn't come to bed. Slept, or more likely staged, the night on the couch. I heard her fake sniffle when she opened the fridge around midnight. Loud enough for me to hear, soft enough to sound accidental. I slept like a rock. Morning came, and with it a fresh mask. She walked into the kitchen wearing neutral colors and a forced calm like she was auditioning for a self-help book cover. I made a list, she said, sliding a notepad onto the table like this was mediation and not cleanup. I didn't touch it. She sat down across from me, voice level, too rehearsed. If we both commit to these, I think we can still salvage the foundation. I picked it up and read. Weekly check-ins to explore Tyler's emotional availability. Limiting TV/screen time to improve present moment connection. Kayla will hold space, but Tyler must do the internal work to match her emotional bandwidth. No more shutting down during hard truths. Individual therapy required before couples therapy. I set it down. None of this is about you, I said. It's all about controlling me better. She blinked. That's not fair. No, what's not fair is being told for 3 years that I'm a project. That my reactions are symptoms. That your judgment is love and my boundaries are dysfunction. I was trying to help you grow. No, you were trying to make me easier for you to tolerate. She opened her mouth, but I didn't let her jump in this time. You shut down my friendships, my hobbies, my family visits. You criticized my tone, my posture, how I breathe when I'm upset. You used words like energy and alignment to spiritualize control. Her hands were in her lap now, fingers laced tight. You said I was unstable. You called me irrational. But I'm the one with paperwork. I'm the one with a plan. I'm not spiraling. I'm leaving. Her eyes finally dropped. I kept going. You want to save your version of the story. I get that. But we both know this relationship only worked when I disappeared. She looked down at the notepad, then stood. I'll pack some things, she said, voice low. I'll stay with Mia for a while. I nodded. That's fine. She walked upstairs slow, like the walls might talk back. The suitcase she'd rolled in so confidently 2 days ago was now just luggage again. She didn't ask for help carrying it this time. She came back downstairs with her bag in one hand and her phone in the other, thumb hovering like she was still waiting on someone to give her the next move. Can we just pause for a second? She asked. I stood by the kitchen counter, sipping coffee I'd made without judgment. We're not hitting pause, Kayla. You're already packed. She didn't move toward the door. She set the suitcase upright and turned to face me. Her voice was softer now, with just enough shake to sound real. What do you actually want, Tyler? Like really? She asked, eyes wide like I'd never been clear. I leaned against the counter, calm. Peace. Respect. A relationship that doesn't feel like performance reviews and personal development plans. She swallowed. So that's it? That's all you ever wanted? Yeah, I said. And I never got it. Not once. What I got was blame, homework, and a checklist of everything wrong with me. Her lip trembled, but not from heartbreak. It was that crack in control, like her version of reality was slipping through her fingers. I thought we were building something, she said. You were, I replied. I was disappearing to make space for it. She looked away, jaw clenched. Then, real quiet, she said, I didn't mean to make you feel small. You didn't make me feel small, I said. You made damn sure I stayed small. There's a difference. She wiped under her eye, and I could tell. This wasn't grief. It was panic. The kind that hits when you realize your power isn't working anymore. I'm not some villain, Tyler. I nodded. Then tell me one thing you genuinely like about me. Just one. And it can't be something I do for you. Her mouth opened. Nothing came out. She looked around the room like the answer might be hiding in the furniture. But it wasn't there. You like that I remember your grocery list, I said. You like that I don't argue when you change plans last minute. You like that I cover your bills when your job makes you tired. But what do you like about me, Kayla? As a person. She finally sat on the arm of the couch, shoulders sagging. Eyes red now but still dry. I don't know, she said, voice almost a whisper. Exactly, I said. A long silence settled in the space between us. The kind that used to feel dangerous. But not now. Now it just felt like truth. She stood, grabbed the handle of her bag, and let out a tight breath. Okay, she said. Okay, you've made your choice. No, I said. I finally stopped letting you make it for me. She walked to the door, slow but heavy, like her body had just caught up with the moment. Good luck finding someone who'll put up with your walls, she snapped as she pulled the door open. I didn't flinch. Good luck finding someone who'll pretend that's growth. She hesitated on the threshold, waiting for me to stop her. I didn't. She stepped out, suitcase bouncing once on the front step. The door didn't slam behind her. It just clicked shut. I stood there for a second. Didn't pace. Didn't scroll. Just breathed. The house was quiet. Not tense. Not awkward. Quiet. And for the first time since she moved in, it felt like mine. 3 months later, the envelope came in the mail, stamped, sealed, and final. Legal language, court signatures, some technical breakdown of assets and closure. I held it in my hands for a second, let out a breath, then dropped it in the drawer next to my passport. Done. A week after that, someone sent me a screenshot. Her Instagram, new photo, new ring, same fake laugh. Engaged to Derek. I just shook my head. That fast. That neat. Like she'd been waiting for a better version of the story to plug herself into. Let her have it. I wasn't even mad. People came out of the woodwork after it all ended. Texts from friends I hadn't seen in years. A few from my sister, even my old buddy Wes from high school. Good for you, man. Never made sense, but I didn't want to say anything. Welcome back. That last one hit hardest. Because yeah, I'd lost time, but I'd gained myself back. Slowly, in real ways. I started playing guitar again, not great, but it felt honest. I started going to the gym, not to fix anything, just to move. I watched games without guilt, grabbed beers without checking in, and for the first time in years, my weekends didn't feel like a job. The house looked different now too. Her books were gone. The fake crystals. The wall calendar full of intentions and rituals no one asked for. It didn't echo anymore. It breathed. People ask if I feel bitter. I don't. I feel clear. I don't miss her. I don't wish her well or wish her harm. I just don't carry her anymore. And I don't carry the blame she handed me either. She told me to think about my role in the tension. To sit with my mistakes. I did. And I fixed them. Would you have walked away sooner or waited even longer? Drop your answer in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more real stories.